right, we made it. It's April 1st. Let's find an easy, comfortable seat. Giving yourself a moment to arrive, feeling how it feels to be right here, right now. As you begin to drop your awareness to your breath or your body, anything that helps you feel present, you might feel a sinking and softening happening through the hips, through the lower body, while a buoyancy or lightness comes into the upper body. If you're seated on a blanket, scoot to the very edge of it. And see if you can follow the next 3 cycles of breath. So noticing as the inhale comes in through your nostrils if possible, observing the body expand, and then watching the breath float away, the body contracting. As you inhale, maybe you can notice the temperature, the feeling of the air. And perhaps you feel a difference in temperature as the air leaves the body, noticing your effect on the environment. One more cycle of breath at your pace. And if you would like to chant Om to begin this physical practice of yoga, draw your hands together in Anjali Mudra. Inhale deeply. Release your hands and tuck your chin towards your chest. You might continue sitting tall, or you might allow yourself to round through the spine a bit. And after a breath or two in this way, with your next inhale, hands on shins or knees, lift your chest, lift your chin. And exhale, drop your chin, rounding your spine. Begin moving through this cow and cat variation, flexing the spine. And since we are seated, you might be able to imagine that the flexion, the movement of the spine, originates from the sacrum, the very base of your spine. So you might imagine that this tilting of the spine originates right at the bottom. A few more cycles of breath. And return the spine to neutral. Then make your way into child's pose. So bring along any props that you might like. Sometimes it can be helpful to put a blanket under the seat. And when we arrive in Balasana, today we'll bring our arms up overhead and bring our hands into prana mudra. So for this mudra, the ring finger and pinky fingers curl in, the thumbs touch the tips or the nails of the last 2 fingers, and then your pointer and middle finger are extended long. Yeah, so I guess another way of saying it is peace fingers, and then bring your peace fingers together. And then settling in for a few breaths, palms flipped towards the sky with the hands in this mudra, prana mudra. Breathing in this way. So this week we've been exploring Brahmacharya, right use of energy or non-excess, and prana mudra. This mudra works with our internal energy, reminding us that we have enough within us. Enjoy about 3 more slow, full breaths, noticing the expansion and contraction. the growing and the softening back. And you have enough just as you are. As you're ready, release this mudra, planting your hands on the earth, palms down. Rise up with an inhale, just passing through tabletop, and drop your forearms to the earth, elbows coming directly under the shoulders. You might just kind of measure and check things out by pivoting on your elbows, making sure that you can pretty well wrap your hands around the opposite elbow, and then replace your hands shoulder width apart. Engage your abdominal muscles, tuck your toes, preparing for passing through dolphin pose. Big breath in. And as you exhale, push the ground away through your elbows, forearms, hands, and start to lift your knees off of the earth. You can just barely lift the knees and hover here, and then focus on pressing your heart back towards your thighs. Let your head hang heavy. Maybe you start to walk your feet towards your elbows. Go easy on yourself. It's early, and this is one of the first shapes that we're asking our bodies to make today. So just exploring it, not necessarily trying to find any sort of depth or perfection in the shape, rather just opening up. Sway your hips a little side to side. And as you're ready, return your knees to the mat. Rest in child's pose. You might bring your arms back by your sides to give your shoulders a break. And you can stay in child's pose longer if needed, or reach your arms up overhead. Tuck your toes. Inhale deeply, and on your exhale, make your way to downward facing dog. Take any movement that feels good. 5 to 8 breaths total here. You might settle in for stillness, or you might shift and move through it all. Head hanging heavy, breath full. Notice if you're hanging out without effort in any parts of the body, and then draw some energy to that area. So core muscles engaged, imagining the thighs spiraling towards each other, pushing the ground away. And now bend your knees generously and walk your hands back towards your feet. Hang heavy in Uttanasana, forward fold. You might look side to side, maybe sway the torso side to side. And on an inhale, press into your feet. Rise all the way up, reaching out and out. Exhale, hands to your heart. Pause for a moment. Stand as tall as you can. On an inhale, reach to the sky. On an exhale, fold forward. Walk your hands forward, coming all the way into plank pose. Inhale here. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your right leg to the sky, three-legged dog. Look forward between your hands. Exhale, step or swing your right foot to the top of the mat, whatever it takes to get there. Lower your left knee down, maybe putting a blanket under your knee. You could untuck your toes if you like, and then lengthen your spine. So that might mean bringing blocks under your hands. As you find space to lengthen your spine, that also gives you space to breathe into your torso. And if you're feeling steady here, right knee over right ankle, you might bend your left knee. Maybe reach your right arm or hand back in space. If this feels really available, you might bring the left hand back as well. No competition, no requirement to do any of the contortions. Breathing wherever you go is enough. If you have caught your left foot with your right hand, you might also look over your right shoulder. This is a variation of pigeon pose, Ekapada Rajika Patasana. Breathe deeply. One more breath. And when you're ready, slowly release your left toes to the earth. Plant your hands on either side of the right foot. Step yourself into plank for one breath. Core muscles engaged. Inhale once more, and on your exhale, triangle shape, downward facing dog. Push the ground away. Shoulders are slightly shrugging up towards your ears. Head and neck heavy. On an inhale, lift your left leg to the sky, three-legged dog. Look forward, core engaged. Exhale, step or swing your left foot to the left thumb. Lower the right knee, untuck the toes, and you can bring blocks under your hands here. Left knee over the left ankle, spine long so there's room for breath. And option to bend the right knee. Option to reach the left hand back in space. You can use a strap or perhaps your hand catches the foot. If it does, imagine kicking back a bit. Remember, you have the option of bringing both arms back in space. Always staying in a range that is reasonable. What's the point of going too far? Maybe you look over your back shoulder. Wonderful. Another full cycle of breath. And slowly unwind. Gently tap the right toes down. I know I have to put a lot of weight into my hands usually for that transition to be okay for my knee. Plant your hands back on either side of the left foot. Inhale and exhale. Step yourself into plank pose. From here, you choose child's pose or downward facing dog. Inhale and exhale. Take the shape you'd like for the next 5 to 8 breaths. Maybe you transition between the two, taking downward facing dog, then child's pose for a few breaths. And knowing you can return to downward facing dog if you'd like. From whichever shape you chose for yourself today, notice your breath. Just frequently returning the awareness to what is here right now, noticing how the mind flutters about, doing what minds do, and recognizing that you have the choice over and over to redirect your attention, and that attention is energy, and we're practicing the right use of our energy. On an inhale from downward facing dog, lift your left leg to the sky, three-legged dog. Look forward between your hands, and exhale, step or swing the left foot to the top of the mat. Stay high on your right toes, and inhale to rise up. Anjaneyasana, crescent lunge. Settling in for a few breaths, option to hold on to the right arm with the left hand pulling it up and over. Nice stretch through the hip flexor and deep abdominal muscles. And return to neutral. You can bring your hands to your hips to give you a little support as you step your right foot out and up a bit, transitioning to warrior one. Inhale to reach up. On your next inhale, straighten your front leg, your left leg. Lengthen your low back, really reach to the sky. Exhale, hinge forward, transitioning to Parsvottanasana, pyramid pose. Lower your hands to the front leg or blocks. Imagine shifting the left hip back in space while you draw the crown away from the tail. You can stay exactly as you are or revolve this pyramid, carrying the weight into your right hand, left hand coming to your low back, rotating your torso to the left. It might also feel good here to bring your left hand to the right side body and scoop your torso to the left in that way. Maybe you reach your left hand to the sky. One more breath. And slowly release, soft bend in your left knee. Step the right foot back, so back to that high lunge stance. Keeping your hands on blocks if you have them available. Inhale to straighten your left leg, pointing the left toes towards the sky, hooking the left hip back in space. And then exhale to plant the left foot, lowering the hips back to lunge. Doing this at your own pace. Inhale, straighten the left leg, toes point towards the sky, fold forward. Exhale, return to high lunge. The breathing may be a little off, so in the low lunge, inhale, exhale, straighten the left leg, fold forward. That might feel a little bit better. Another cycle or two, knowing that it's your personal practice. So if you would rather just settle into stillness or receptivity, you're welcome to do that. And when it feels good, you can release that flow, plant your hands, and step yourself into plank, where you choose child's pose or downward facing dog. About 5 breaths. Enjoy another cycle of breath. And then meeting in downward facing dog. With an inhale, we can lift the right leg to the sky, 3-legged dog. Look forward between your hands, core muscles engaged. On an exhale, step or swing the right foot to the top of the mat. Stay high on your left toes, and as you're ready, reach your arms up overhead, Anjaneyasana, crescent moon pose. As you breathe here, option 2, hold onto the left forearm with the right hand, pull the left arm up and over to the right. Breathe deeply and return yourself to neutral as you're ready, reaching to the sky. Exhale your hands down to the earth. Oops, I fibbed, sorry. Reach your arms back up, hands to your hips. Carefully step the left foot up and out of it, transitioning to warrior one. There we are. Reach your arms back up. Virabhadrasana 1. Good. On an inhale, straighten your right leg. On an exhale, hinge forward. Transitioning to Parsvottanasana, pyramid pose. I like blocks under my hands here. Helps to keep the spine long, giving ourselves a little more space. Imagine the right hip shifting back in space. You can stay as you are or plant the left hand, bring the right hand to the low back and revolve your torso to the right. Again, remember you can always use the right hand to help you rotate the torso. Maybe you reach your right hand to the sky. Notice if you're clenching your jaw or building tension anywhere, and try to let that go. And as you're ready, soften the right knee, release the right hand. Hands come to the earth, step your left foot back, so we're back in high runner's lunge. Hands can stay on blocks. Inhale, exhale, straighten your right leg, right toes point towards the sky, folding over the right leg. Inhale, bend the right knee. Low lunge. Exhale, pyramid variation. Inhale, high lunge is probably the better word for it. My words are funny today. Happy April. On an exhale, fold forward. So move with your own breath here. A few more cycles. Finishing up the next breath or two. And as you're ready, returning your hands to the earth, stepping yourself back into the last downward facing dog. We'll practice together today. Just another full breath. Maybe shake the head out while you're here. And on an exhale, lower your knees to the earth. Keep your toes tucked. Walk your hands back to sit on your heels for just a moment. Imagine squeezing your legs together, core engaged, lengthen the tailbone down. So there's a drawing together and up happening through your pelvic bowl area. Soften the shoulders down. You might return your hands to Pran Mudra. So essentially bringing the hands into the peace sign and then bringing the index and middle fingers together, resting your hands palm up. Two more breaths. And release. Come into tabletop just long enough to tap the tops of your feet out. And then swing your legs around. And roll onto your spine. Oh, grab a block if you'd like to use it for supported bridge pose. And if you prefer to flow through bridge, you can start doing that right away. So with the knees bent, feet near the hips, inhale, lifting the hips, lifting the arms. Exhale, lowering arms, lowering hips. You could also settle in into bridge pose for several breaths. Today I will suggest that we put the block under our sacrum and allow ourselves to come into a supported bridge pose. So usually the lowest setting will suffice. Maybe today you lift your hips a little higher, bringing it to the second highest setting. And as you start to settle in, press the back of your head into the earth, being sure that the chin is pointed towards the sky. One at a time, walk your shoulders towards each other under your body. Palms flat on the earth. Energetically press your arms into the ground. This will help us lift our heart. Imagine that you're holding a block between your thighs, so the legs stay hips distance apart. They're not splayed out wide. Breathe fully here. Whichever variation you chose, settle your attention on your breath. About 3 slow cycles. And as you're ready, if there's a block under you, press your feet into the earth to lift your hips enough for you to slide the block out. And then lower onto your spine. Open your arms out wide in any way that works for you. Cross your right leg over your left and scoot your hips to the right just a little bit. Draw your legs in towards your chest, any amount. Inhale. Exhale, let the legs fall to the left. And then allow yourself to settle in. 3 to 5 slow breaths. You might look over your right shoulder. As you're ready, breathe deeply and unwind, returning through neutral. And then cross your left leg over your right. Pick up and scoot your hips to the left a little. Draw the legs in towards your chest. Big breath in. And as you breathe out, the legs fall off to the right side. And you might look over your left shoulder. Enjoy a few more full breaths here. As you feel ready, unwind from this twist. And as you're ready, send both legs long, arms coming out wide by your sides, palms towards the sky. As we start to settle in for our rest in Shavasana, before we totally let go, you might engage every muscle in the body, pointing your toes, spreading your fingers wide, tensing the whole body. Squeeze the glutes, squeeze the core, squeeze the chest, the face, the shoulders, squeezing everything, tensing, and then letting go. Feeling the tension leave the body. Rest with your breath in Shavasana. Seek wonder everywhere you go and in everything you see. See the sacred in the ordinary and the divine in every person you encounter. Move through your day with your heart and your eyes open. Take the time to see and feel. As you're ready to close this practice, you can make your way back to an easy seat. Sitting tall, breathing deeply. If you'd like, draw your hands together in front of your heart and inhale deeply for one long Om. Thank you for sharing your time and your practice. I look forward to seeing you back on Monday.